And welcome back, listeners. You are listening to Subculture, and now we're going to take a look at another show at this year's Melbourne International Comedy Festival. We're going to take a look at Murder Village, an improvised whodunit. And to tell us a little bit about this show that I am so looking forward to, we've actually got the director, producer, Dave Massingham, on the phone. Welcome to the program, Dave.
Thanks so much for having me.
No problem. Now, Dave, I've got to say, I am a very, very big fan of improvised comedy and improvised theatre, so I am so looking forward to this show. But tell us a little bit about Murder Village.
Terrific. Yeah, I'm a big fan of improvised theatre as well. It's best basically, I guess the one-liner is it's Agatha Christie improvised. So we've got a host of really experienced and very, very funny improvisers who we've developed some characters with and some ideas for people who might live inside a 1950s style English Agatha Christie murder village. And the audience will get the chance to vote each night which character will die, which character will live, which character will be the killer, but it's a blind ballot, so they still get the fun of guessing. And they suggest some other elements like the murder weapon and a telltale clue, and we get that like a second before we walk on stage, and we improvise the lead up to the crime and the solving of the crime after the fact.
So where did your idea for the setting, for an Agatha Christie kind of novel or film, where did that idea come from for you? Why did you choose kind of this genre?
Look, I love those sort of cozy murder mysteries. I have since I was a kid. They were, some of the first books that my mum lent me when I was really young. These, sort of slightly macabre, but mostly kind of warm-hearted murder mysteries. So I've always enjoyed the genre really quite a lot. And I actually developed a format up in Brisbane when I used to live there, which first played around with sort of that sort of English murder mystery. And after I kind of wrapped that one up, I thought, it'd be really fun to have I guess a whole village worth of characters that we can play with. So if people come multiple nights, they get the sense of a larger populace, and we can, maybe in passing mention some of those characters from time to time. So it's a fun way of sort of dipping our toes into that genre.
I had the pleasure last night of seeing another improv show at the festival, Time Lord, and it hit me when I was watching that production of how do you put together a show like this? Because if I write a play, I sit down with my actors and we rehearse and rehearse and rehearse before opening night. But how do you prepare for a show like this where things change every night?
No, that's a super good question. Yeah, no, we do rehearse, and we do rehearse quite a bit, but we're obviously not rehearsing the storylines. What we are rehearsing is more sort of the skills, the improv skills that you rely on. And honestly, for Agatha Christie style murder mystery, you kind of think, okay, that's going to be really plotty. You're going to have to create this plot up on the fly. It's actually really all about relationships. So we rehearse sort of how we can connect with one another on stage. Thankfully, I've also got some really, really quick-witted and very funny people, and also very experienced people in the cast. So I'm a picky casting director, and then the rehearsal room is where we kind of play with the genres and the different sorts of scene types that you might find in those mysteries.
So where did your love for improv come from? Has it been something that you've been fascinated with your entire life?
Yeah, more or less. I kind of stumbled into theatre sports during high school, and that sort of love sort of blossomed from there. So I've always enjoyed playing around with theatre style games, and then as I got older, I really found inspiration in the really genre-heavy, sort of more long-developed storytelling, and what you can do with that in an enterprise setting.
Yeah,
it's a little bit more challenging, but it's a lot more rewarding, I think, if you can pull it off.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned about some of the things that you could prepare for Murder Village, even though things change from night to night, and you mentioned that you're a huge fan of the murder mystery genre. There's so many tropes that you see in that genre as well. So do you kind of work out how you can fit those into any kind of storyline that might get thrown up on the night?
Yeah, well, we've got I think we all kind of go away and study like the sort of tropes that turn up, so they're kind of already in our head. And if there's an inspiration or a reason for something to come in naturally, then it's kind of already at the back of the improviser's brain, I think, a little bit. But there's certain things that we definitely like kind of track back to. Like we've always got flashbacks to the lead up to the crime. We've always got scenes where our detectives are interviewing some of the suspect characters, where we kind of like play with ideas of like maybe the characters are lying about what happened, and so we can play with those sorts of things. And of course, the red herrings are always dotted throughout. So you kind of get used to playing in that sort of genre pool, and they kind of come out naturally as you become more familiar with it.
You mentioned your talented cast as well. Tell us a little bit about the performers that people will see if they head along to Murder Village, and how you cast them all in this production.
Yeah, so I'm lucky to know most of them from some of my performing with them in the past. There's people from Impro Melbourne, which is obviously a really long-standing improvised group here in Melbourne, and a lot of them have also got a background in the big hoo-ha, as do I, with both of those two groups. So that's where I know a lot of them from. We've got people who've got all sorts of other shows they're taking part in the comedy festival, other improv shows as well. We've got people like our two lead detectives are played by Liam Amor, depending on which night you come, who's a very experienced improviser, who's toured all over the world. And then we've got Amberly Cull, who plays sort of like a Miss Marple type. If you're on the nights that she's there, she's got a really extensive background in comedy and musical theatre and puppetry as well. So they're definitely performers with a wide variety of feathers to their cap.
Awesome. Well, I cannot wait to head along and check out this show. And I know we've got to let Dave go, listeners, very, very soon, because he's heading to a rehearsal right now. So
I am.
If you want to head along and check out Murder Village, it is on at the Comedy Festival from April 3rd through to April 13th, 8:30 each night at the Butterfly Club downstairs, which I know is a venue that a lot of people that listen to this show love. So head along and check out this show. You can grab the tickets from comedyfestival.com. Dave, to finish off, what would you like to say to people out there who are thinking about heading along to check out Murder Village?
Come along. We'd love to have your ideas as to what inspires our clues and our weapons. It's so exciting to see some of the off-the-wall but also somehow entirely genre-appropriate ideas that we get given. One of my favourites so far was one night we got bare hands as the murder weapon, and we ended up improvising that into a giant bear statue that was toppled on top of somebody. So it can go all sorts of directions. It's a lot of fun.
Awesome. And again, for all of our listeners out there, Murder Village is on from April the 3rd to April the 13th at the Butterfly Club downstairs, 8:30 each night. So go and grab your tickets from comedyfestival.com. Dave, thank you so much for taking the time to chat to us today. It's been an absolute honour having you on the show, and I can't wait to check out the show.
Thank you so much to yourself. No, I really appreciate it. Looking forward to having you there.